Hi everyone. I want to talk to you today about my favorite Desmos feature, which are sliders. And sliders are controls that will have on our expression panel that will allow us to manipulate a graph of an equation. They're really easy to use. They have some great applications in the classroom. So I'm going to show you today just how to set them up and then a couple of activities that you can use with your students. One of the things about Desmos that I really like is how user-friendly it is. So, for instance, it recognizes x and y as independent, dependent variables, or r and theta if you're in polar mode. But it also recognizes function notation. And it also recognizes keyboard shortcuts, such as sqrt for square root, or even pi for pi. But every now and then, we can create sliders by using letter combinations that it doesn't quite recognize. So I'm going to input an equation right now in vertex form. So I'll type in y equals a, and then x minus h. So as I start typing a and h in, I'm getting prompts to add sliders, either for a, or for h, or for both. But I'm not done yet, obviously, so I need to square this and add in a k. And now I have an option to add any of these three sliders for a, h, k, or for all of them. And I'm going to choose all of them right now. Now, if we allow students to do this on their own, just give them some sandbox time, they can learn a lot about vertex form and quadratic functions in general without me having to tell them. They can discover this on their own. So, for instance, if I change the value of a, I'm going to say, wait a minute, if I click on this slider and drag it, and I make a larger, that it's stretching the graph vertically. If I drag it down to the negatives, then I realize now my graph opens down instead of upwards. And I can manipulate the sliders by clicking and dragging, or if there's a specific value that I want. So for instance, maybe I want to see what happens here when h is -2. I can just click on the value itself and change it to -2, and it's already done the shift for me. So it doesn't let me see the animation and the gradual changes in the graph, but if I know where I want to go with it, I can always just change this value. So sandbox time is really valuable for students, but I can also give them something to do and give them a specific purpose. So one activity is, I can take my parabola and see, is there a way I can make that parabola match the graph that's shown? I already have it opening downward, and I'm going to change that value of a. Let's go to -1. Let's hope that's the right value. I want to shift my graph to the right. So as a student, I realized, oh, wait a minute, if I increase h, my graph shifts to the right. Get in the right spot, there we go. And then I can also change my value of k, and I realize by playing with this that k will shift the graph vertically. Now, it looks like increasing the value of k will move my graph upwards. And then, once I got to 3, I get my graph to match the one that was there. So I'm really excited. As a student, I have actually learned a lot and developed my own knowledge. There are other things we can do. I can realize, you know what, if I want to change these values, so for instance, maybe I change a value here for k and say, you know what, let me see what happens. I'm going to change it to, say, 15. Oh. And what it's done is actually change my minimum and maximum values. It changed my maximum value to 15. But I realized that I'm not getting to see the graph in the window that I have. So I can manipulate the minimum and maximum values. I'm just clicking on one of them, and it gives me this option. Now I can input new min and max values. And let's say I want to go from -5 to +5, just clicking and just typing in -5 and 5. And then the step option will be the increments at which the graph will move. I want k to change by 1/10 at a time. So I just type in 0.1, hit return, and now I have a slider whose values have changed. Another thing that I could do is there's actually a playback option, so I can animate my graph. And there are some nice applications for it in terms of creating art, but there are also some nice classroom applications and pedagogical uses for this too. Now to make the graph move, I can just click the play button, and it animates my graph. And now it's shifting my k value between -5 and 5. If I want to change the speed of the playback, maybe have it go a little slower so I can understand it a little bit more. There's a speed option, a playback speed option over here. If I want to go faster, there's also an option for that. And I can go up to, I believe, about 20 times the initial speed in playback mode. Another thing that I can do is get a little too fast for me. So I'm going to go back to 1 as my playback speed. One thing I can do right now is that my slider is oscillating from -5 to 5. It's going from minimum to maximum, back to the minimum again. But maybe I want to animate my graph so that it runs from the minimum to the maximum and then starts over again. And I can do that by clicking this icon here at the arrow. So right now it has the right arrow and the left arrow, but if I just click on it, they both become right arrows, and I'll see my slider run from -5 to 5 and then start over again once it reaches the maximum value. These are just a few of the applications you can use. Another thing that we could do with students in playback mode, and I'll stop this for a second so I don't distract you, is we can have students pair. One of them has a Chromebook or a laptop in front of them. The other one can't see the screen. And the first student can play one or all of these sliders and pause it at some random instant. So I can just do this, like so, play these values, and then stop at a random time. The student who can see the screen can dictate these values to the other student, and the second student can try and replicate the graph that's here on paper. And if a student can do that, they have a really solid knowledge of vertex form and quadratic functions in general. Now, this is just a quick introduction to what sliders can do, and there are many, many more options and many more activities that you can use with students. But I just want to say thank you for this. I want to keep this short, and I appreciate your time. Have a good day.